So you remember what I said on episode 2, that I suspected that Mr. Patoff was trying to draw in Greg. Well, here we go. This particular episode should be called The Road Trip from Hell. This is a Greg and Mr. Patoff episode. This focuses more on us getting a slight touch of what Mr. Patoff is. Now, at the beginning of the film, we have, I think it's called Friday. I think it's called Friday or the Weekend or something. So, what I usually do with most TV shows, when it's a TV show and it's supposed to be a thriller or an action-packed or a suspense TV show, I usually like to study the opening title sequence. Game of Thrones had a beautiful one. Penny Dreadful had a very interesting one, and you could actually get an idea about what the show is about based on that episode, that opening sequence. Now for this one, it's also very interesting. There are files, there are computer screens, there are red words, there are red computer generated words, there are files, and then there are flies on files. I wonder, that just kinda destroyed my alien theory. But as this particular episode, we get to see Craig now sucked into, I wouldn't call it sucked, because he's the one who triggered the whole beginning of this, because he was going, it's a Friday, so he was going for a beer, and then the boss is like, what are you going to do? And this is the thing about Patoff, because it seems disconnected from everything else. It seems not to understand going out for a beer at the end of a Friday evening. Can you imagine? So Greg actually has to invite him to that particular Greg invites him for a beer. And the problem with Greg is now he's excited because the boss, he has seen, actually the opening of the show is the boss, Mr. Patoff, enjoying his video game on a bigger screen. And so Greg is feeling really good about himself. He can't actually see that this is part of trying to draw him in. That's how I still feel. Now, after they go for the beer, they have a conversation about fights. They have an interesting conversation. And so at the end of that particular evening, because I don't want to spoil it for everyone, at the end of that particular evening, Patoff now invites Greg into his own version of what a beer or an evening is supposed to be. So they go to this classy building on the top, on the 10th floor of a building, where he's forced to actually change his outfit into a suit, because he dresses casually, so he's made to wear a suit. So when he does, and when they go in, they see this swanky event. It looks more like an event. People are having fun. Everyone basically looks like really prominent rich people, you get. And so he meets a lady there. Now the interesting about this lady, and the most disturbing thing about this lady, is that Patoff knows this lady, Milana. I think her name is Milani. And when you look at that lady, she has a missing leg and a missing arm. And that for me, gave me shivers. And she had these marks on her mouth. There was just something very, very weird about her and how she behaved around Mr. Patoff. So now, Patoff gets these drinks, he gets to drink around, goes to the loo and talks, and then he talks to Elaine. Elaine now is supposed to go out for a date with someone, and she just as about she's getting something to get rid of something on her shirt, she comes across something very interesting. She comes across a key. A key to where? A key to the server room. Not the server room, the secret room in the server room. I think I mentioned that on the last episode. So as she goes there and opens it and finds stuff, I can't spoil it for people. She actually gets access to other things. Now on the other hand, Patoff now has started to really like Greg. I think he's trying to draw him into something. So they now are bonding on a different level. So the Patoff is called by some guys to do something, and oh my goodness, that's where the road trip from hell begins, because Craig is kind of drunk. So they go down to the car, and then as they enter the car, a live person in a white bag tied up is thrown into the back of the car, and they just drive off. Craig panics. Patoff is easy and is telling him to cool down because he's having a panic attack. They have an interesting road trip. and something interesting happens. I don't want to spoil it for people, but something interesting happens, and you will not believe the person that they find. The person Craig eventually finds in that white bag, it will still blow your mind. And then that person mentions someone else. In order for Craig to fully understand who this Patoff is, he needs to look for someone else. There's just that road trip between that party and a petrol station is, I think it's the most tense part of this particular episode. And Craig has to go through a lot of emotions, because remember, he's drunk. He has to go through a lot to try to process what is happening, or what is not happening, or what is real or what is not real. Especially with, you have someone who you literally is tied up, mouth is gagged, there are ropes, you cannot see who it is, but you can hear them try to mumble and move around. And when the reveal happens, you are also shocked. You also be shocked. I was shocked. I did not know it could go to that extent, and I don't know what the relationship between Patoff and that person in that bag was, and what could lead them to that particular point of that being that, So wow, this was another intense episode, because now we discover more about this Patoff guy. Now I'm starting to think that this is more supernatural than it is aliens. There's something very dark about Patoff. He reminds me of Al Pacino, playing Al Pacino with that Keanu Reeves movie where Al Pacino plays the devil. This very much reminded his character Patoff, Regus Patoff, reminded me very much of that particular character and how he played it out in that particular movie. So yeah, this was a very intense episode. I think I don't understand. There is another bombshell at the end of the episode, another huge bombshell, because you remember that in order for Craig to enter the party, he had to wear a suit, so he had to leave his clothes there. So when he comes back to pick his clothes, he discovers something again that absolutely blows my mind. So I'm like, what the hell is going on right now? Who the hell is this guy? And where is that place that they actually went to? So this is a very, very, very intense episode. It's very entertaining. It's definitely worth your time. And again, it's 30 minutes, but it feels like it's a goddamn 1 hour show because of just how intense it is. I mean, there's a scene that they're in a bar talking about brawling and Greg having been beaten, and Mr. Patoff going like he can take 4 of those guys, 4 drunk big people. Who is this guy? What is his deal? And Elaine discovers something. Let me not forget, she discovered something, and she made one of the biggest mistakes you can ever make. I won't mention it, but she made one dumb mistake that you'll see. That I hope it will lead something on episode 4. So yeah, The Consultant, episode 3 is, if I was to give it, I would give it a 4. It's just so well goddamn intense, and I don't understand where the black comedy comes in, because I don't see any comedy, man. I do not see any comedy in this particular episode. I do not see any humor, not even black humor. I just see intense thriller drama. So yeah, thanks for watching, and man, I will see you. I'll see you on episode 4. If you've started this, man, just leave a comment. Let me know how you feel about this guy, Patoff guy, before we move on to the next episode. What's the deal with this guy? Anyway, thanks for watching, and see you on the next one.